What separates the average from the truly extraordinary isn't talent, luck, or even intelligence. It's habits. Daily disciplines, quiet commitments, internal victories. In a world screaming for shortcuts and hacks, the highly effective are grounded in timeless principles that shape their thinking, fuel their growth, and multiply their impact. Stephen Covey didn't just write a book, he delivered a manual for mastering life from the inside out. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, raising a family, or just trying to find your purpose, these 7 habits will change the way you think, act, and live forever. Number 1. Be proactive. You're the creator of your reality. Being proactive isn't about personality, it's about taking ownership of your life with such fierce responsibility that nothing and no one outside of you can dictate your inner state or your direction. To be proactive is to stand in the storm of chaos and still choose calm. It's to face adversity, criticism, delays, and even betrayal, and not flinch, because your power doesn't come from outside validation, but from within. Highly effective people know that between what happens to them and how they respond lies a sacred space, the space of decision. And in that space, they don't react, they choose. They don't say, this is just how I am, or I can't help it. No, they say, this is who I choose to become, and then they act in alignment with that identity. The reactive mindset is rooted in emotion, waiting for conditions to improve, for someone else to apologize, for the weather to change, the traffic to clear, the world to give them permission. But the proactive mindset is rooted in principle. It doesn't deny circumstances, it just refuses to surrender to them. It understands that you may not control the wind, but you can adjust your sail. You may not dictate events, but you always decide your energy, your attitude, your voice, your values, your next move. This habit is about shifting from victim to creator. It's about waking up and saying, I am not my past. I am not my mistakes. I am not the opinion of others. I am not the story others wrote for me. I am the author now. And then you pick up the pen and you write the kind of day, the kind of life, the kind of legacy you want to leave. Proactive people don't wait for opportunity. They create it. They don't hope for change. They become the change. They live aligned with vision, not emotion. They are powered by character, not comfort. They understand that complaining solves nothing and blaming empowers no one. Every setback is fuel. Every delay is a lesson. Every obstacle is a mirror asking, what can you still control? And the answer is always your perspective, your behavior, your intention. To be proactive is to become a conscious creator of your reality, not in some mystical, wishful thinking way, but through relentless ownership of your focus, your language, your habits, and your responses. It means you don't just dream, you discipline. You don't just wish, you work. You don't just want, you walk forward daily in the direction of what you say matters. You stop waiting for the world to give you permission to lead, to heal, to build, to love, to move on. You give it to yourself. And when setbacks come, and they will, you don't shatter. You shift. You learn. You adapt. Because you know that the one thing no one can ever take from you is your ability to choose how you show up. In every moment, in every situation, in every chapter. That's what makes you powerful. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you highly effective. Not that life treats you kindly, but that you treat life as a field for growth, no matter the terrain. When you live like that, with radical ownership and unstoppable internal drive, you stop being a product of your environment and become the architect of your future. That's the foundation. That's habit 1. And it changes everything. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Live intentionally, not accidentally. To begin with the end in mind is to live by design, not by default. To wake up every day with a vision so clear, so rooted in purpose, that every action, every decision, every step you take flows from intention rather than impulse. It means refusing to drift through life, responding to other people's demands, distractions, or agendas, and instead anchoring yourself to a deeper mission. One that defines not only what you want to accomplish, but who you are committed to becoming. Highly effective people do not wander through life hoping to arrive somewhere meaningful. They visualize the legacy they want to leave, the relationships they want to build, the kind of impact they want to make, and then reverse engineer that vision into their daily lives. They ask hard questions. What do I want people to say about me when I'm gone? What principles will guide me when no one's watching? What kind of father, mother, leader, friend, human being do I want to be remembered as? And because they understand that if you don't define success on your own terms, the world will do it for you. And the world's definition is shallow, reactive, and ever-changing. Beginning with the end in mind is not a strategy, it's a philosophy. It demands that you stop living accidentally, bouncing from one task to another, one week to the next, just trying to stay afloat. It demands you become the author of your own script, not just an actor in someone else's production. I hope this and that clarity becomes your compass. When decisions get hard, your vision becomes the filter. When distractions tempt you, your end goal becomes your anchor. When life gets loud, your mission becomes your quiet guide. This habit forces you to think long-term in a short-term world. It's easy to get lost in the noise, to chase achievements for their own sake, to hustle without alignment, to pursue goals that look good on paper but feel empty in your soul. But beginning with the end in mind changes that. It reminds you that success isn't about how high you climb, but how aligned you stay with what truly matters. It reminds you that each day is a brick, and you're either building a masterpiece or wasting materials. It teaches you that a fulfilled life doesn't happen by accident. It is built brick by brick, with relentless clarity and conviction. People without this habit often achieve results but feel lost. They win the race but forget why they started running. They gain the world but lose themselves in the process. But people who live with the end in mind walk a different path. They say no to shortcuts that cost them their soul. They say yes to sacrifices that build something eternal. They don't measure success by applause. They measure it by integrity, legacy, and impact. They're not obsessed with being busy. They're obsessed with being intentional. Their calendars reflect their values. Their energy follows their priorities. Their results mirror their internal alignment. And even when life doesn't go to plan, they adjust the route without compromising the destination. This is how you begin to live a life that is not only successful, but significant. This is how you make sure you don't climb the ladder of life only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. When you begin with the end in mind, every day becomes a piece of something bigger than yourself. Every choice becomes a vote for the future you desire. Every moment becomes meaningful, and your life, one intentional day at a time, becomes the legacy you dreamed of from the very beginning. Number 3, put first things first. Discipline is the bridge to freedom. To put first things first is to take the vision you've crafted in your heart and translate it into disciplined daily execution. It's the habit that transforms dreams into reality, values into action, and intentions into outcomes. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most with unwavering focus, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unseen. Highly effective people understand that life is not shaped by how busy you are, but by what you're busy with. They don't confuse motion with progress or urgency with importance. Instead, they prioritize ruthlessly, knowing that every yes to the essential requires 1,000 no's to the trivial. To them, discipline isn't restriction. It's liberation. It's the gatekeeper of freedom. Because when you live reactively, letting life pull you in 100 directions, you become a slave to circumstances, always behind, overwhelmed, and disconnected from purpose. But when you operate with discipline, when you protect your highest priorities and execute them consistently, you experience the kind of internal peace and external results that only alignment can bring. Putting first things first means scheduling your values before your distractions have a chance to hijack your day. It means structuring your life around your mission, not your mood. It means doing the hard things first, the important conversations, the focused work, the self-care rituals, before the noise of the world drowns out your clarity. Highly effective people don't wait for motivation. They design their days so that their most important work happens early, consistently, and without question. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on structure. This habit is about living with intention in the present while staying anchored to your vision of the future. It's saying, if I truly value health, then exercise and rest must be protected time, not optional leftovers. If I truly value family, then dinner is sacred. If I truly value growth, then learning is scheduled, not squeezed in. First things are not just tasks, they are reflections of your identity and your legacy. And when you compromise them even a little, you erode trust with yourself. But when you honor them day after day, even when it's inconvenient, you build an unshakable foundation of confidence, clarity, and character. This habit teaches you that success isn't about dramatic bursts of activity. It's about consistent alignment. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently well. It's learning to say no without guilt because you've already said yes to something greater. It's resisting the pressure to be everything to everyone and instead becoming deeply effective for the few things that truly matter. When others are scattered, you are centered. When others are chasing trends, you are building legacy. When others are chasing speed, you are building depth. This kind of discipline doesn't make your life smaller, it makes it deeper, richer, and more meaningful. And yes, there will be resistance. Distractions will tempt you. The urgent will scream. People will not always understand. But when you consistently choose what matters over what's easy, what's eternal over what's loud, and what's valuable over what's convenient, you create a life that's not only productive, but powerful. Because at the end of the day, putting first things first is how you live with no regret. It's how you ensure your calendar reflects your character. It's how you transform principles into progress. And ultimately, it's how you build a life that doesn't just look good, but feels right, serves others, honors your purpose, and frees you from the chaos of a world that never stops demanding more. That's the power of discipline. That's the bridge to real freedom. Number 4, think win-win. Build a life where everyone rises to think win-win, is to rise above the narrow lens of competition and embrace a mindset of mutual success, shared growth, and abundant possibility. It's a fundamental shift from me versus you to we together. Highly effective people understand that true greatness is never achieved in isolation or at the expense of others. It is built in relationships where trust, respect, and collaboration thrive. Win-win is not about being nice, nor is it about compromising your standards to keep the peace. It's about courage and consideration, walking hand in hand. It requires strength of character, emotional maturity, and the willingness to seek solutions where everyone involved feels respected, heard, and valued. When you adopt a win-win mindset, you stop viewing life as a zero-sum game. You no longer believe that for you to win, someone else has to lose. You start seeing opportunity where others see scarcity, connection where others see rivalry, and partnership where others see threat. In your business, it means creating value that benefits the customer and the company. In your relationships, it means approaching disagreements with empathy and integrity, not dominance or submission. In your leadership, it means lifting others as you rise, not hoarding credit or controlling outcomes. Win-win doesn't mean everyone always gets exactly what they want. It means everyone leaves the table feeling honored and whole. This mindset is not for the weak. It demands that you check your ego at the door, communicate openly, listen deeply, and be willing to walk away from outcomes that compromise your values or harm others. It requires emotional intelligence, the ability to see situations from multiple perspectives, to speak your truth while holding space for others' truths, and to stay grounded in your principles even when the stakes are high. Highly effective people practice this not just in boardrooms and big decisions, but in the everyday moments, when giving feedback, resolving conflict, setting expectations, or negotiating priorities. They understand that every interaction is an opportunity to build trust or break it, to create allies or adversaries. And so they lead with intention. They seek synergy, not sameness. They don't fear differences, they leverage them. Because they know that when people feel respected, they bring their best selves to the table. Win-win is the foundation of lasting influence. It is the reason people follow you, trust you, and build with you. In a world obsessed with domination, transaction, and short-term gain, this mindset sets you apart as someone who builds legacy. And yes, there will be moments where others operate with a win-lose mentality, where they manipulate, take advantage, or play political games. But that doesn't mean you lower your standard. It means you stay rooted. Because win-win isn't just a strategy. It's a statement about who you are. It's choosing collaboration over control, integrity over impulse, and abundance over fear. It's believing that the pie is big enough for all of us, and if it's not, we'll bake a bigger one. It's knowing that when others win, because of your presence, your value multiplies, not diminishes. And most importantly, it's understanding that the real win is not just in what you get, but in who you become in the process of lifting others up. When you live this way, something powerful happens. Your relationships deepen, your influence expands, and your life becomes a rising tide that lifts every boat around you. That's the win-win life. That's how highly effective people move. They don't just chase victory, they create value. They don't just compete, they connect. They don't just lead, they elevate. And in doing so, they build a world where everyone rises. Number 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen like a leader. To seek first to understand, then to be understood, is to unlock one of the deepest, most powerful forms of human connection. It is to listen not with the intent to reply, but with the intent to truly grasp what the other person is saying, feeling, fearing, or needing beneath the surface of their words. It's not passive, it's an act of leadership, empathy, humility, and emotional strength. In a world drowning in noise, where everyone is trying to be seen, heard, validated, and right, highly effective people slow down, lean in, and make others feel profoundly understood. They know that understanding is influence, that people don't care what you know until they know you care. This habit challenges the ego, because the natural impulse in conversation is to speak, defend, correct, or fix. But leadership, whether in families, companies, friendships, or communities, begins by creating psychological safety, a space where people can express without fear of being dismissed, judged, or ignored. When you listen like a leader, you're not waiting for your turn to talk. You're giving the other person your full presence, as if what they're saying is the most important thing in the world in that moment. Because to them, it is. You're listening with your eyes, your heart, your intuition, not just your ears. You're listening for what's being said and what's not being said, for the emotion behind the logic, the pain behind the posture, the plea behind the complaint. And in doing so, you not only hear them, you heal them. You build bridges instead of walls. You de-escalate tension, diffuse egos, and open up paths of collaboration that would never have emerged through argument or assertion alone. Highly effective people understand that seeking first to understand isn't about agreement, it's about acknowledgement. It's saying, I hear you, I see you, I get where you're coming from, even if your perspective differs. And once that foundation is built, once the other person feels truly seen, then and only then is it time to express your own point of view, your own values, your own solutions. Because by that point, you've earned their trust, and with trust comes openness. This habit transforms marriages, teams, negotiations, and conflicts. It dissolves defensiveness and turns confrontation into cooperation. But it requires you to quiet the inner voice that says, I'm right, they don't get it, I need to prove something. Instead, it invites curiosity over judgment, questions over assumptions, connection over control. It teaches you that listening is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's how you gather truth before drawing conclusions. It's how you decenter your ego and center shared understanding. It's how you move from opposition to alignment. And it's a habit that must be practiced, not just preached. Because we live in a reactionary world where attention is fragmented and speed is idolized. But the best leaders, the most effective, respected, and impactful people create moments of stillness where others feel heard. They walk into rooms and change the atmosphere, not because they dominate the space, but because they honor the people in it. They understand that being understood is important, but it comes second. Because true communication is not about who talks the loudest, it's about who listens the deepest. And when you lead with understanding, your words gain power, your influence expands, and your relationships transform. That's the art of listening like a leader. That's the essence of Habit 5. And in mastering it, you become someone people trust, follow, open up to, and build with. Not just because you speak well, but because you listen even better. Number 6, synergize. Unity over ego. To synergize is to go beyond cooperation, beyond compromise, and step into the realm of creative collaboration, where differences are not just tolerated, but celebrated, and where the collective mind becomes far more powerful than the sum of individual parts. It's a principle rooted in humility, open-mindedness, and trust, and it requires one to surrender ego in service of a higher outcome. Highly effective people understand that synergy is not about everyone agreeing. It's about everyone contributing. It's the magic that happens when you bring diverse perspectives, backgrounds, talents, and even disagreements to the table with one shared goal: to create something greater than anyone could have achieved alone. Synergy thrives in the presence of deep respect. It lives in the space where people feel safe to speak their truth, where leaders invite challenge instead of silencing it, where the best idea wins, not the loudest voice or the highest title. It's not easy. It demands emotional intelligence, maturity and patience. It asks you to let go of my way versus your way and step into the question, is there a better way that neither of us has seen yet? That mindset, curious, humble, and focus on what's possible, is the birthplace of innovation, reconciliation, and impact. Ego is the enemy of synergy. When ego leads, we defend, compare, compete, and isolate. We filter ideas through pride instead of potential. We hold back what we could contribute and reject what others try to offer. But when we remove ego from the equation, unity becomes possible, not uniformity, but unity of purpose. Siman. When we remove ego from the equation, unity becomes possible, not uniformity, but unity of purpose. Highly effective people create cultures where synergy can breathe. They ask better questions, they listen without agenda, they look for strength in what others bring instead of weakness in what they lack. In doing so, they unlock a type of energy, creativity, and momentum that no one person could create alone. You see this in high-performing teams, in great marriages, in movements that change the world. It's never just about one person, it's about the chemistry between people. It's never just about one person, it's about the chemistry between people. Synergy is the reason two musicians together can create a sound that stirs souls in ways a solo act never could. It's why a group of passionate thinkers, each with a different lens, can solve a problem a single expert couldn't see. It's why communities rise, companies grow, and families thrive, not because of perfect harmony, but because of powerful unity. Synergizing also means valuing process over control. It means trusting that the journey through creative tension, differing opinions, and even conflict will lead to a richer result. It means stepping back so others can step forward. It means seeing others as teammates, not threats. It means recognizing that your strength is multiplied, not diminished, when it's shared. This habit isn't just about strategy, it's about spirit. It's a way of thinking, living, and leading that makes room for others without shrinking yourself. It's the realization that every person you meet knows something you don't, has lived something you haven't, and sees something you can't. And when you make space for that, when you honor that, you tap into exponential possibilities. You create environments where people don't just coexist, they co-create. Where ideas are not just exchanged, they evolve. Where outcomes are not just achieved, they're transcended. That's what it means to synergize. It's choosing unity over ego, inclusion over isolation, elevation over domination. It's understanding that your greatest work will never come from standing alone. It will come from standing together with those who challenge, stretch, sharpen, and complete you. When you live this way, you stop asking, how can I win? And start asking, how can we all rise? And that shift from solo to synergy changes everything. Ako vejo BF, from solo to synergy changes everything. Number 7, sharpen the saw. Protect the asset. To sharpen the saw is to honor the truth that you are the greatest asset you'll ever have, and that no matter how driven, disciplined, or determined you are, you cannot pour from an empty cup. It's the habit of renewal, restoration, and intentional self-investment that highly effective people never treat as a luxury. They treat it as a necessity because they understand that without a sharp saw, the work becomes dull, the progress slows down, and eventually everything suffers. Life demands a lot from you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and every challenge you face, every person you serve, every task you carry out draws energy from your internal reservoir. If you never refill it, you burn out. And burnout doesn't happen because you're weak. It happens because you've neglected to recharge. Highly effective people recognize that rest is not idleness, and self-care is not selfish. They know that when they invest in their well-being, everything else they touch becomes stronger, clearer, and more impactful. Sharpening the saw means scheduling your health, not squeezing it in. It means prioritizing sleep, movement, nutrition, and stillness with the same urgency you give to deadlines and deliverables. It means taking walks, not just to burn calories, but to clear your mind. It means turning off screens so your nervous system can breathe. It means feeding your mind with books, ideas, and challenges that expand your thinking rather than drain your spirit. It means reflecting often, journaling when necessary, meditating when possible, and praying when your soul feels distant from your purpose. Sharpening the saw also means cultivating emotional resilience, processing what you feel, healing what's been hurt, forgiving what's weighing you down, and asking for help when you need it. It means nurturing relationships that nourish you, saying no to energy vampires, and creating boundaries that protect your peace. It's the daily, sometimes uncomfortable commitment to stepping out of autopilot and choosing wholeness. And it goes deeper than just wellness. It's also about spiritual alignment. For many, that means reconnecting with God, with nature, with silence, with a source higher than themselves. Because effectiveness in life is not just about output, it's about alignment. When your soul is dry, your actions lose power. But when your spirit is lit, even small actions carry impact. This habit reminds you that your identity is not in what you do, but in who you are. And when you sharpen the saw, you're not just maintaining yourself, you're honoring yourself. You're telling your mind, body, and spirit, you matter. I will take care of you, so you can take care of the mission. You become more patient, more creative, more focused, more joyful, not because life got easier, but because you're showing up stronger. And perhaps most importantly, sharpening the saw teaches you to play the long game. Because burnout is the enemy of legacy. Short bursts of productivity are not the goal. Sustainable, purposeful impact is. And that requires rhythm, not just hustle. It requires knowing when to push and when to pause. It requires seasons of growth and seasons of recovery. The most effective people are not the ones who grind themselves into exhaustion. They are the ones who know how to renew, recharge, and return to their mission with even more clarity and strength. So, sharpen the saw. Not someday, when things slow down, but today, because your energy, your presence, and your well-being are not optional. They are foundational. Protect the asset, guard your flame, nourish your body, expand your mind, anchor your spirit, because when you are whole, your impact is unstoppable. When you are sharp, the work is precise. And when you are rested, aligned, and fully alive, you don't just survive life, you shape it. That is the seventh habit. That is the secret behind longevity, clarity, peace, and power. That is how you honor the gift of who you are. In the end, the true essence of the 7 habits of highly effective people is not about chasing success. It's about becoming whole, aligned, and purpose-driven from the inside out. It's about mastering yourself so you can lead, love, and live with integrity, clarity, and power. So begin today by being proactive. Take full ownership of your choices and stop waiting for permission to live boldly. Visualize your life's legacy, and begin with the end in mind. Then prioritize your time to put first things first, cutting out distractions and pouring yourself into what matters most. Choose to think win-win, not just for fairness, but for abundance, creating space for everyone to rise alongside you. Seek first to understand before rushing to be understood, because deep listening heals, unites, and reveals truth. Then synergize. Build bridges through respect, collaboration, and trust, knowing that unity multiplies potential. And above all, sharpen the saw. Protect your peace, guard your energy, nourish your mind, body, heart, and spirit, because you are the vessel through which purpose flows. May you walk each day with discipline wrapped in grace, confidence rooted in humility, and a heart open to grow. And now, as we close, may the Creator bless your journey, sharpen your vision, and fill your steps with divine wisdom. May He grant you strength when you're tired, courage when you doubt, and peace when you're overwhelmed. May every door that aligns with your purpose swing wide open, and may your life be a living testimony of discipline, love, and legacy. Amen.